Are you scared of traveling because of all the things that can go wrong? Or you're scared that your kids travel by themselves and of all the terrible things that might happen to them? Well, in this video, I'm going to talk about the 10 biggest problems while traveling. So stay tuned. Hello bug, I'm Vivi. Welcome to Adventure World. My channel is all about guiding you to an exceptional relationship with yourself, with your partner, and just a higher quality of life due to emotional intelligence and radical responsibility. So let's get started with problem number 1. So one of the biggest problems, which might not always be a problem, is being totally unprepared and going with the flow. Going with the flow can be a cool thing, and being unprepared and just seeing where life throws you and what's gonna happen is amazing. But while switching countries, you need to know if there's any injections you need, if there's any visa issues, how long you're gonna be able to stay in the country, and what the visa extension process is if you're considering to stay longer in a country. Like for example, when I went to Bali, I thought, oh yeah, like you can like just extend the 30-day visa and just stay another 30-day, no problem. Well, little did I know that I had to go to the immigration office 3 times, which turned out to be 5 times because, so the first time it was a public holiday, I didn't know. The second time they took all my data, I had to fill out some forms and I had to book a flight on that day, or in that second actually, to show them that I was gonna leave the country within the 30-day extension period, which I also didn't know because I didn't do my research. The next time I came, I've been waiting from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Yeah, a whole freaking working day waiting there because the system broke down and nobody knew what was gonna happen, and it was just 2 more numbers till it was my turn. Anyway, I came back, I had my pictures taken, fingerprints taken, and then I came back again to pick my passport up. All this said, the visa extension office or the immigration office was always more than an hour away from where I was living. And imagine the beautiful, chaotic traffic of Bali. If you're changing countries, at least make sure that you know what kind of visa you need, if you need any visa, how to extend the visa, and if there are any rules and regulations with vaccinations, injections, all that crazy stuff. And if you're traveling during a really busy time like Easter or Christmas, make sure you have at least the first 1 or 2 nights reserved in a hotel or in a hostel or in an Airbnb, whatever, because sometimes you're arriving super late or your flight is delayed and like you cannot find an accommodation and you're already exhausted and you want to prevent yourself from all this trouble. Problem number 2 is travel sickness, and not that you sometimes just get sick and start vomiting in a bus or something. I actually mean get sick of traveling, especially when you've been traveling like 3-4 months or just a longer while in a certain area or country. After visiting 50 temples, you know that the 51st temple is gonna look pretty similar to all the temples that you've seen before. And after going to 30 waterfalls, you're gonna know that the next one probably isn't all that exciting anymore. And that's a big problem because after a while, we start getting tired. We stop appreciating the beauty of the surrounding. We stop appreciating and loving and enjoying the experience. We get tired, we start getting annoyed, and we need to have some rest because our vibes drop as well. And this is not really the kind of travel that we want, but it happens to pretty much, I'd say 80% of people, that after a while they're just like, I've seen enough, I've done enough, I just want to be here, sit, chill, relax. And we actually need to take some time to rest and recharge in the place for a little while without moving too much in a short period of time, before we can go back to really loving and enjoying the experience of travel without having to complain the whole time. Number 3, an all-time favorite, food poisoning. I guess it has happened to all of us, especially if you've been to Asia, Africa, or South America. It just happens sometimes. You could prevent food poisoning pretty much by not eating any raw, uncooked, or unpeeled food, and just making sure you're not eating any street food. But you would also rob yourself from a lot of culinary, beautiful foods and cuisines and tastes and plates, however you want to call it. Anyway, you can prevent yourself by just having a slight look and developing a feeling of like, oh, is this a good place to eat or not? Does it look kind of okay, or do you already see that this is a really dodgy and really terrible place? What I do is I look how many people eat there. If it's a busy place, if there are people enjoying the food, if there's a lot of people eating there, I pretty much know it's going to be a good place. Especially if the citizens of the town, place, country eat in this place, you know it's going to be a good place. Also focus on the ice cubes. You never know where the ice comes from unless you actually do know, but that can be really dangerous. I once got so sick in Koh Phi Phi, Thailand, that I had to be in hospital for 2 nights. I paid over $2,000, and we really don't need to do that. And it was terrible, and I felt like I was dying, and I was like vomiting, and I was so thirsty, and I just wanted to drink so much water, but my body couldn't keep it, and it was the worst experience of my life being sick. So just make sure you're trying to prevent the ice cubes, and if you have to use them, or if you're actually having them, make sure they come from a good and safe place. Number 4, hospitals and doctors. First of all, please have a travel insurance. Like, do yourself this favor and spend this 50, 100 or 200 bucks to save you from potentially spending thousands and several thousands of dollars, because it can get really expensive. But the way bigger problem is that often communication isn't the greatest, that the standards are very different from what we are used from European or American countries, and also they're not that tidy and clean. So we had a bus accident, and I cut my head open, and I was bleeding so much, and they had to stitch my head in Laos. Laos is one of the worst places to go to the hospital. Like, you don't even want to go there if you have a cold, or maybe you have a cold, but like anything worse than that, like please go to Vietnam or to Thailand. So I was in there in the international hospital, and they had to stitch my head. And in the middle of him stitching my head, his phone was ringing. And guess what he did? He answered his phone and was talking to his friend while he was stitching my head. And obviously, he did not put any disinfection on his hand after like finishing his phone call or whatever. He just kept working on my head. I was like, oh my God, what is happening here? So it was a pretty intense experience, but I survived, so everything is good. Number 5, heat exhaustions and heat stroke. What a beautiful thing. Well, we always think, oh, this is not gonna happen to me. And when I was in Dubai, I was like, seriously guys, like you're not going outside unless it's like 10 p.m. and like you're spending all your day inside. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, I'm gonna be able to handle the heat, like don't you worry. I'm gonna have like the time of my life. Well, I did have the time of my life, but I actually walked in the freaking heat, more than like 40 degrees, over 100, with this like humidity that is literally killing you. And even though I was trying to be in the shade, I couldn't handle it for more than an hour, and then I just went into the store and like drank like coconut water like a crazy person. And then I was like, okay, fine. I got it, I'm gonna listen to the locals. And my second experience with heat exhaustion was in the Atacama Desert in Chile. We've been renting bikes, driving, bicycling, riding our bikes to a beautiful lagoon. And we did have some water, but unfortunately we didn't have enough. So the way back was freaking hot. The street was terrible. Even though we left at like 6 a.m. it was like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. that we went back. The street was terrible. It was like all bumpy, and with the bike it was terrible. My head was hurting. I just wanted to sit down under a tree and say, I'm gonna stay here. I don't freaking care what's gonna happen. Like, I cannot anymore. I cannot. We didn't have water. I didn't have energy. My head was hurting. I was hot. I was exhausted. I was tired. And since then, I actually learned I'm always carrying a water bottle, a big, I have a huge water bottle. I always carry this water bottle around with me, which is a good lesson, but do we need to learn that way? So make sure you always have enough water, and don't underestimate when it gets really hard. You need to drink a lot of water, and this is where your body gets the energy from. Number 6, a really fun thing, losing our stuff, especially our passport, our phone, all the important stuff that we need, or maybe not losing, but getting them stolen, whatever is happening to us. Great, let the real adventure begin, because this is where stuff actually gets exciting, where we have to get in contact with all the embassies and all the offices and all the blah 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 blah, and it can be terribly exhausting and not that nice of a game. So make sure that you have all the important documents, your insurance, your passport, all important phone numbers saved somewhere where you can easily access them. Either have copies and also have them somewhere saved in your email and in cloud, whatever, where you can access them easily from wherever you are. Number 7, it probably has happened to most of us, a delayed or cancelled flight. Yay, so much fun. Where this can get really exhausting and really stupid and shitty, actually we gotta try to make the best of it. It's more than, I believe, 4 hours. Well, there's different categories that you can find out online, but it can actually be a good thing, because sometimes it has happened to me that I got over 600 euros back on a $200 flight. Like, come on, isn't that pretty amazing for just 4 or 5 hours of extra waiting? Like, come on. You can always ask the airline what is possible, if they can book you to another flight, if they have an accommodation for you, if they have anything like food, any other stuff that they can give you. So just make sure you talk to them, you be nice to them, and try to make the best out of the situation. Like, it's not their fault. And remember, it's always better to be stuck at the airport, even for hours and days, than to have a terrible plane accident and to crash and to die. So just gotta see it positive, I guess. And number 8, your luggage gets lost. Wow, what an amazing adventure. Let's just be with our hand luggage. So it's a really good thing if you're actually only traveling with hand luggage, which I really recommend. I'm trying to do that as much as possible, but sometimes it's just not possible, especially if we're gone away for a year or for different things and we need to carry stuff. It just doesn't work. So the best thing is, don't freak out, especially when you're just arriving to your holiday. That can be really annoying, especially if you're not having your bikinis and stuff with you and you're just arriving to the beach. Like, shit happens. But make sure you at least have a fresh pair of underwear and a toothbrush with you in your hand luggage, because these are the most basic and important things. Anything else that is really important that you're gonna need the next day, no matter what, make sure you have it in your hand luggage, that at least you can survive and be okay for 1 or 2 days, even though you have to wear the same freaking clothes for a few days. It has happened to me. You know, life goes on. As long as your stuff comes back, it's all good. Number 9. This is a problem that happens mainly to solo travelers. Feeling lonely. Even though we're experiencing so much, we're seeing so much, we're meeting new people, sometimes we can actually feel really lonely. And why is that? Because we're not making the connections, we're experiencing all this beautiful stuff, but we actually don't have someone to really share this experience with. We don't have someone who's appreciating the situation in the same way as we are in that moment. So sometimes that leads to us feeling lonely. And it can be totally frustrating, but guess what? There's always a solution. So get out of your comfort zone, make yourself some friends, get on couch surfing and stay with locals, or go to couch surfing meetups. Go on any of these, even if it's dating apps, there's also apps where you can meet girlfriends or guy friends, just as friends and not as dates kind of things. So try these out. I mean, you're in a hallway, you're away, you're meeting other travelers on these kind of apps and websites or whatever is out there. There are a lot of Facebook groups where you can meet new people, where you can meet locals or expats or travelers. Just Facebook search it. Facebook search it. Holy crap. Just Facebook search it. Just Facebook search it. I'm sure we're gonna find something. Go to co-working spaces, attend their free events if they have something like that. And if not, just talk to the strangers on the street, in the bars. Like, Google and research some digital nomad places where people like to hang out, foreigner friendly cafes and restaurants, and just sit there and be there and talk to people. There's always a solution, and most of the time being homesick or feeling lonely only lasts for a short while, and you can actually get over it quite quickly. And then number 10, well, I guess most of us have experienced this, getting ripped off. Yep, this happens in most countries apart from, well, maybe in some European countries, but not really in America or Europe, but in all the rest of the world. Maybe not in Australia, but in all the rest of the countries, it is highly likely that you as a foreigner are gonna pay much higher prices than the locals. So what are we gonna do with it? Well, you have the possibility of just not traveling at all because it's really annoying you and it's really unfair. And I mean, it is, but is that the best solution? I don't think so. So what else can we do? Know the prices and deal and haggle until you get the price that you know you have to pay, or just automatically give them the exact money you know it's gonna cost. Like, if there's street food and I'm not sure how much it is, I stand on a side for a minute or two and observe other people buying that food, and I really focus on how much they're paying. So I actually really know how much it is. So I can't get ripped off, because if 2, 3, 4, 5 or 10 people before me paid the exact same amount I'm giving them, I'm gonna know what kind of, how much it is, so they're gonna know I know the price. Ridiculously prices. Only pay what it is worth it to you. If it's worth it to you to pay $50 for a fake Adidas shirt, well, go for it. If not, you're gonna know, okay, what is the real price? Well, maybe locals pay, let's say, $2. I know they're probably gonna sell it for me for 10. Well, am I willing to stand here half an hour to like trying to get it to $6? Well, maybe yes, then let's go do that. If not, well, move on or buy it for the price that it's worth it for you. That's the most important tip I can give you. I hope you're not gonna stop traveling just because sometimes there are problems and sometimes there are challenges. If you confront these challenges and problems with the right mindset, you're still gonna be able to create the most incredible memory, to really create a life full of adventure, full of love, full of excitement that really makes your eyes light up and makes you excited, makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning, because holy crap, like, this world is filled with adventures. And staying at home to prevent yourself from going through the troubling challenges, I don't feel that this is the right thing to do. But it's up to you, it's your life, make the best out of your life. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please share it with your friends and family, or share it on your social media. Give this video a like if you did, and consider subscribing if you want to see more of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to see you in the next video.